Reading
having the time
comments.
of my life.
Oh, reading the comments?
But
Okay.
I think we're just about done.
So, what was really super neat, I think, about the shoot that we had this weekend is that we did something that we've never really done before, and that is we had one one actor playing, you know, a ton of different characters, which, you know, it was like those scenes from Coming to America where Eddie Murphy was like playing every single character. And I think that it's, you know, I think that's a pretty good, you know, similar thing, because that's a lot of what we were doing.
Was that
The thing
Babylon
about Coming
5?
to America. What were you saying?
Was that Babylon 5 I saw back there?
Yes.
It was Avalon 5 you saw, yeah.
Specifically, more like from the show Crusade.
Yeah, so Crusade
Babylon
was
5 spinoff.
Crusade was a Babylon 5 spinoff that didn't last for very long. It barely made it something like 10 episodes.
Yeah, Gary Cole.
But if you're going to do Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs and you're going to do the Babylon 5 universe, you're going to do Crusade, because that's where the Excalibur was in that universe. So we were able to find a way to kind of match that up. And it was easier to do a uniform from that, because, you know, the problem you run into is nobody sells a Babylon 5 uniform like they make a, you know, like an Orville or a Star Trek. That was something we had to sort of figure out on our own. I feel like it worked out pretty good in that regard. Here she is. This is Alex as, you know, Prime Universe Allenby there in the classic green wrap, which
Love it.
Glenn or that Ray Tessie had made for Tales from the Neutral Zone. And then see if anyone can guess which version of Allenby this is.
Smallville.
Smallville, yeah, right. It's you know, it's going to be some fun guesswork on some of these, but we saw not just multiple versions of Allenby, but of this guy as well.
Oh mate, you got the Back to the Future 3 cowboy outfit on. That is fantastic.
So
that's awesome too.
We're not just doing the sci-fi universes. We had, and this was the idea from our friend Jonathan Lane, we're doing a Way to Eden space hippie universe. From the Love Federation, they all serve on the Love Ship Excalibur, which those initials would be, you know, LSD. And so we've got Captain Flower Blossom Allenby and Commander Elvis Presley.
Which is can I say is a nod to
another homage.
Yes, to a fellow, to a fellow Star Trek fan filmmaker.
Oh, thank you very much. Love my peanut butter and nanner sandwich.
But it was a fun shooting weekend. Now the thing with Avalon is that, you know, for the past 2 years, you know, we've really settled into kind of a way of doing things. Like our shooting days never go, you know, we always start like at 9 a.m. and we're always done by about 6. And so this was the first time that we've gone until like about 10 o'clock at night. And we did that because, like I said, it was kind of this, you know, I talked about Coming to America, where you had Eddie Murphy playing all these comedic roles in these different scenes. And it was a comedy movie, but it was actually about something. You know, it had a message, it had a story. And I feel like that's what this film is that it has all these comedic elements, but there is like a serious story to it. And, you know, we'll talk more about it the closer that we get, but it was a fantastic weekend. We made our day both days. Everybody had a great time. And I want to say this about it, and then we'll kind of move on a little bit. It's the first time that I've ever been filming a scene, and I broke down and teared up and cried while we were filming. Because I saw a scene that was very special to me be filmed, that had emotional meaning to me. And Alex pulled off that scene so well that I couldn't help it. I teared up on set, and I had to take a few minutes. And Tyler can attest to that. So Anyway, moving on. We came here tonight to watch Ghost Ship. And the thing about Ghost Ship, and I'll let Tyler talk about it too, is that this was the original vision for Avalon Universe. This is originally what we wanted it to be. The Three Musketeers of Space. And it'll show you like a really interesting take on, comedic tone, character interaction, all those kinds of things. A lot of people will think it's easy to make a film. It's not. We shot Ghost Ship over 3 really difficult days, edited it in about 6 weeks. And as hard as it was a ton of fun. Tyler, talk about your experience making Ghost Ship.
Oh gosh, it was a 16-hour drive each way, and it was so when we first got to the studio, I'd never been on a Star Trek set before. And Ray, the owner, Ray Tessie, great guy, just an amazing guy. He had us all not lined up, but we were grouped up like right outside the doors, behind the doors of the corridor. And everything looks like, where we were standing, you're in the back of a set. Everything, you can see all the plywood and, stuff laying around. Not that the place was a mess, but, we were backstage. And he said, okay, so when I open these doors, it's going to have the effect that, it has on, all Star Trek fans, the same effect it had on me. When these doors open up, you're going to be that age that you were the first time you ever saw Star Trek. And you might gasp. And or maybe he didn't say that part, you might gasp, but we all did. The doors opened up and we all just went, because once you walk through those doors and they close behind you at that set in Kingsland, it is completely immersive. I mean, you are surrounded in every direction. But I think I was telling you guys this in our interview we did with you after Cosmic Stream, but it really is like it's 360 degrees in every direction you turn. You're on a Federation starship, original series. You're on a Constitution class ship, and it's you walk a little bit and you turn a corner and there's the transporter room, and then you go back in the main quarter, and on your right is the captain's quarters, and to your left at the beginning of the corridor is sick bay, and then auxiliary control, and now to get to the bridge you have to go through more backstage, but it was just seeing the set and being on set for the first time was incredible, and it was just a really fun time. It was hot, we were sweating our asses off. It was early September.
It was the first weekend in September. Yeah,
in 30 minutes north of Jacksonville, Florida. So it was hot. It wasn't just warm. It was very warm.
It was 100 degrees the whole time we shot. Yeah.
Yeah. By the end of our last shooting day, Josh smelled pretty bad, but because he wouldn't stop. He everybody else got a break because the actors. We would you're not in this scene, so go. Grab a water, get something to drink, chill out or whatever. He didn't get that because, he was, the guy, setting up the shots, running the camera, making everything work, and he just didn't stop. So, we'll give him a break for smelling bad. But it was an experience that is hard to describe. It was very euphoric. It didn't even though we're pulling 14-hour days and we're sweating and we're Josh made sure everybody stayed fed and hydrated and go outside for a little bit, cool off, and but it didn't feel like at the end of the day it was like, do we really have to leave? Can we stay longer and play? That's what it felt like. It felt like a really long day on the playground. It didn't feel like work, and I guess that's all I got for now.
So this comment, I had it up. he says that he enjoys the Avalon episodes because it combines the best of old school with new school. That's really what it's about in a lot of ways, is that it, the creative motivation of Avalon Universe is that it incorporates some influence of every type of Star Trek, old and new, in some way. And it's kind of all Star Trek in one Star Trek as far as an homage goes. So yeah, that's a great comment there.
You kind of pick and choose what works best for you, and it kind of creates an original vision of what you see Star Trek is, and it just looks really great. It looks fresh, in a way that doesn't compete with like what's on TV now.
I think that it was, the intent was to create a visual update that would not go too far, because a lot of people felt like, some of the modern versions of Star Trek went too far in their visual updates. So we were able to create an update that we felt like didn't go too far. And that's what I've always loved about it. Sam Cockings likes that about it. Some people don't like it. I get a lot of comments of, why do you have these weird uniforms, or quit trying to combine Strange New Worlds with TOS,
Well, the thing, and no disrespect to what Collie did or what Vic did, but I connect with the Avalon universe in a way that I don't with theirs, because I do enjoy what JJ did. I do enjoy Strange New Worlds. I do enjoy modern Trek, because I kind of look at all Trek and I enjoy bits and pieces, even if I don't enjoy the entire thing. But for what old Star Trek had, like, I never connected with TOS, but there were elements that I did enjoy of the original series. And what you've done is you kind of took bits and pieces from those and included it and made it enjoyable for someone like me who never did connect with the original series. Whereas when you watch those, they're basically carbon copies of something I could never connect with, and you made it connectable, relatable, so and again, no disrespect to those people, please don't bash me,
Well,
and we love both of those
episodes.
shows.
I wish you just do it like TOS. And it's, one of the things that I decided very early on was that, look, there are plenty of other fan films out there that do accurate TOS very well. You mentioned them, like, James Colley or Star Trek Continues or Federation Files. They do that really well. Yeah. And so it's like, I'm kind of the person that's always going to do something different than what everyone else is doing. So I just decided I'll do this. I wanted to have the freedom to, have my own canvas to paint on. And I feel like that's what we were able to do.
Well, and plus it gives you a specific look. Like when you see Mason on the bridge, or Chakande on the bridge, or Ramirez on the bridge, instantly you look at them, you see them in whatever uniform they're in, and they're on the TOS bridge, but they're in the Star Trek Beyond uniforms or Star Trek Into Darkness uniforms or whatever. You instantly look at it and you go, oh, that's an Avalon film. Like you've done it in a way that instantly you're like, oh, it's Avalon. So I mean, you did it very intelligently, so it's very smart.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And not just the tunic is only one element of the uniform. We tried to combine other elements,
Discovery badges,
the badges, to make it more visually interesting. So, okay. So we're here and we came to check out Ghost Ship. Let's see here. Let me.
And again, I'd like to say, we have the utmost respect for New Voyages and Continues, and like it's like recreating TOS to a T has already been done so well by those productions. Why try to? I mean, we wouldn't presume to try to, perfect that as well as they have. It's like what they did was awesome. So we're going to do something else.
Just want to quickly add as well that I think you are getting better and better with each film you make. Your most recent one, Needs of the One, which was a comedy episode, and comedy, in my opinion, good comedy, not cheesy, but something that actually makes you laugh, is very hard to pull off. It's a skill in its own right.
Well, thank
I would
you.
say the
Yeah,
comedy-
it isn't easy.
no doubt.
And I will say
you had
that
new cast members as well, and for me, that was my favorite fan film of yours that you've done.
Well, thank you.
The
I
most recent.
appreciate that very much. And Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs is going to be exactly the same type of thing. It's going to be a lighthearted and fun adventure story. Now, the other two that are coming, Knights of the Void and The Once and Future Captain, are not going to be that. They're going to be very serious in a lot of ways. And that's how I tend to go. I tend to go like serious, silly, serious. Because you can't do dying and crying all the time, and you can't, do silliness all the time. So we started with silly, we went to serious, we're going to be back to silly, but let's check out.
But even our serious ones, even in the serious ones, there's still going to be some comedy relief. There's always going to be your one-liners and, to break the tension. But
Like you as a background character or something like that.
Here we go.
Are we talking through
That's-
this? Or
I was
That's
about to
me.
say, what's
go ahead,
etiquette?
go ahead
Okay.
and do your thing. That's me
Yeah, that
in
was
the
Josh.
doorway.
There's
And
Glenn
Tyler's
Wolf.
dead back there in the background.
No, that was Chino. I wasn't dead on the bridge.
No, you're behind
Oh, okay.
you're
Oh,
dead
that's
on the
Space
bridge. So is
Cake.
Glenn.
I was
Yeah.
about to say that's a
Space
space cake.
Space cake,
Next shot of me in the turbo lift was the last shot that we shot for this film. See, I'm all sweaty and hair's all matted and
Joseph.
shit.
Commodore Austin.
Now,
do you-
another bit of trivia here.
Please
This
have
guy
start.
here, the bald guy, is the worst actor in the entire film.
I always
I don't know,
knew it was
he-
just a matter of time before you were flag officer. I guess all that relentless dedication to the
There's a
academy
background.
finally paid off.
What can I say? I was a man on a mission to always be the best.
So what are you
This
doing on
was-
this pile of crap?
That desk lamp from Star Trek
I'm
6 is
the
a very good
commanding
villain right
officer
there,
for
by the
this
way.
sector.
That's
Why
Glenn
am I just now
Wolf.
finding out about this?
Well, you're the
He-
operations
he's
officer for the
the-
station. You know what happened last week.
He's the one-man art
Yeah, but was it
department.
that serious?
Over 500 people were killed last week when the M5 computer malfunctioned during that war game. Commodores Enright and Wesley have been recalled to Sector 001 to give a report directly to a board of inquiry at Starfleet Command. So, here I am.
Yeah, that's pretty serious. Okay, I'll make the command transition as easy as I can, sir.
Unfortunately, Commander, you're going to be needed elsewhere.
Sir?
One of our ships was disabled and wrecked during the incident. The USS Excalibur suffered major damage and its entire crew was lost.
That sound
due to
effect is the
multiple hull breaches
worst.
and a failure of the life support system. Now, the ship is salvageable, but it will take several months in space dock to restore it. Now, we would have tractored the ship back in, however, its antimatter containment field is fluctuating, and towing it in with a tractor beam could result in a warp core breach. Your mission is to take a small away team aboard and stabilize her so that the ship can be salvaged and the crew laid to rest.
A small away team. To salvage an entire starship.
Like I said earlier, over 500 people died last week. So Starfleet Command wants to keep the potential for further loss of life at a minimum. Your orders are to
desperate
select
is
an
what he's
away
saying.
team of 3, including an engineer who can stabilize the situation and bring the ship back under impulse power. Can you do that, Commander?
Aye, sir.
I know you can do this. The Lexington will drop your shuttle off at the edge of the system on its way out. I don't have to tell you, there's a reason Starfleet Command picked you for this mission.
We've got
So we're
the
going to be
music
watching your
by
performance very carefully.
Victoria Archer's husband, Nick
Dismissed.
McFarlane.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he did a
It
great
almost
job
feels
with
like
this.
Mission Impossible in space. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, to go and this message will self-destruct in 10 seconds.
And I
Wow. This mission isn't dangerous.
didn't
Hey,
have the
we're
pleasure
Starfleet.
of actually
Risk is our business,
being
remember?
on set with
All too well.
Vance for
If
this.
the telemetry from the Lexington is to be believed,
You're
I'm not sure.
you're
if
actually in front of a
Excalibur
green
hasn't already
screen here,
breached.
Tyler.
Hey,
Yeah,
this
I
is
know.
no time for optimism. I'm about to
I
shuttle
remember.
out to a dead ship with no support from Starfleet. I have to be prepared for the worst.
I'm sure. It's
I
just
love
false
how,
data. You'll be able to take better sensor readings.
Lore Reloaded made fun of how
Seriously,
he
I
had
am going to need a
fans had a
top-notch
lower
engineer if I'm going to have
thirds
any hope of making this
How I
work.
had what?
I wish
How you had a lower thirds,
75 light years away.
like your name there on the screen.
I think I know someone that can help.
Lore Reloaded pokes fun of me all the time, but he always tells me, like, oh, I have the utmost respect for him. He always pokes fun of me all the time, like, you son of a... I love that guy.
Hilarious, man.
Well, just like these two guys up here.
Right?
Why is it that every time you get yourself into trouble, I'm the first person you call? It's not like Starbase 6 has
Because
a
everybody
personnel
needs a
roster
fiery
of
redhead to be able
1,200
Be
people.
their shield.
Yeah, but you're smarter than 198
yes,
of them. That
indeed.
other guy's just...
I love
Weird.
how Tyler
So
played
once
this.
again,
as,
you need me to solve your
comedic.
problems for you.
Oh yeah.
Hey, what would I be without you?
Well,
That's what you
be
said
a
you
lot less
wanted.
cool. You'd have no idea how to talk to
I actually
women.
improv that
And,
line.
well, you'd probably
1,200 people. I was
Exactly.
like, yeah, but you're smarter than 1,198 of them. That other guy's just weird.
Commander Derek Mason, Lieutenant Jamie Archer.
You're the engineer?
Archer!
I mean, it's a pleasure, Lieutenant.
I'm sure it is.
So,
Oh,
Starfleet royalty, huh?
My great grandfather runs in the family.
Right. Lieutenant Amanda Beck, science officer.
So, we're just gonna board a dead ship and.
I have to say that I really liked her story
You can put
arc,
pants on for
Archer's
the away
story
mission,
arc, and
But if you want to do an
Mason's
EVA and
story
go-go
arc that you
boots,
have
feel free.
Funny.
when they're in that like void thing that you had them in, and then they come out of it.
I'll have
I really like that, and seeing how it all starts here.
The ship's completely without
I really like
power.
what you did with the
Can't access
character.
the hangar deck, so we'll
Thank
have
you.
to
There's
go
gonna
to the
be more of them. More of that.
Go ahead,
That's my
Sergeant.
dad's voice.
All right, Captain. Now or never.
Well, I mean, because when you had you know Mason die in
I
the
take
next
it
one,
back.
you had Archer. I mean,
You still
it's
have
like
no
you
idea how
really
to talk
kinda
to
thought
women.
characters are gone. That's it.
I know.
Then you brought him back. It's really kind of cool how you did. You know, I don't know. It's just
Menard.
kind of nice to see the characters come back. You know.
Only Mirror Menard would deal with spoilers, okay? I didn't
So what's
want-
on your mind, Beck?
What if I didn't know?
I had a friend on the Excalibur.
My bad.
This
That's
is
right.
day 2 of shooting here in their
And its boyfriend.
shuttle set. That was
You know,
immense
it was
fun.
fine when we were
And
stationed
this
on the
is the
same
only
ship.
time we've
but
done a shuttle scene.
This didn't work out
where
once we
we've
were
looked
assigned to different
front to
quadrants.
back.
The standard
A lot of
subspace
times,
relationship.
We have
I've done it
the
myself
other
a few
shuttle
times.
set we
Mason
use.
has
We
a
can't
saw
pull
beat,
the
though.
window off and look back.
He did a
Little
subspace
front, like,
marriage.
yeah, you can pull the
Really?
front part off. You
Good.
just never asked.
Yeah, at some
But,
point we all have to admit that we're
This is
married
the
to
only
our
time we were
careers.
like removed
I
to the front of
see.
the shuttle and shot back
Anyway,
like this.
just because it didn't work out doesn't mean I stopped caring. I just
Afraid you'll have to see his dead body?
something like that.
I love the camera work here. Like, it's good. It's good bouncing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's done really bad.
Okay, let's
It's,
see
like,
if we can
really
get more
good.
accurate sensor readings.
Scanning now.
It's got that Event Horizon feel. It feels like a haunted spaceship. You know, I like
There's
Yeah.
no way this data is accurate. It's showing here that the matter-antimatter reaction is still active.
Event Horizon
I'm
is
not
my
reading an
favorite movie.
active subspace field or EPS power anywhere on the ship.
The forward power coupling is down. That's why the life support systems are disabled.
If the reaction isn't powering the warp coils, then where's it going?
According to this,
So, Josh,
Nowhere.
question: how much?
So the
Because
core
you
should
have
reach.
TOS
Not
uniforms
only
in
that,
this. How
but
much
the
of it
antimatter
is
containment levels.
kind of left up to
are
chance of
lower
what
than
you
when the
have
Lexington
at
first
the
scanned
moment,
them.
or how much of it is actually planned
This
out
ship should
for
have exploded
what
days
is
ago.
TOS versus
Well,
what
now we
is
get to board her and find
like
out why she
Kelvin
has it.
Universe?
I have a thought on that actually.
So with this
We don't all
film,
have to go.
it was just
What do you
more
propose?
what we could do
Well,
What we had
one of us
available
could
to
board
us,
the ship, reboot the
because
transporter
we
system,
only
and move the other
bought
two back
the
over.
Kelvin uniforms for
Okay.
the main
Okay.
cast. So
No,
everyone else
let me.
on screen had to be wearing something
I'll have to bypass the
TOS.
forward power coupling,
So,
rear auxiliary to the
We
life
worked
support
it out
and
by saying
transporter
that
system,
the change
and then
in
move you over.
uniforms happened
that something
after
you
the
can do?
M5
No.
incident. So everyone
Proceed,
who's
Lieutenant.
boarding the
I
ship
see.
now has the updated uniforms, whereas everybody who was on the ship and died had the old ones. So that's kind of from a continuity standpoint, that's how that works here.
I'm approaching the starboard
When we got to Demons, we had to get a little deeper into working out how that was and be more intentional about when we showed a TOS outfit. We stole a bunch of Vix and Ovos. No, we didn't. We used some old Star Trek Continue stuff that was at the studio, I think, for this. That was for the extras.
Archer to Commander Mason.
Damn it all.
Go ahead.
I've got it. Minimal life support is restored, and I can beam you aboard.
Good
That
work.
one's playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice.
Have a lock. Stand by for transport.
I love that shot from the transporter.
Archer, concentrate on the core. Back. Scan as much of the ship as possible. Find out as
So
much
this
as you
is
can about the
Georgia
current
Keith
situation.
here.
Life support is at a minimum. I was only able to seal the hull breaches in the drive section with force fields, so we don't have bridge access.
Okay.
Basically,
Try to reboot the command pathways to the Duotron.
we're in Georgia from here until the end of the film. In the beginning of the film, where I was talking to Tyler in the briefing room, this is Arkansas here. This shot is Arkansas here.
Yeah.
This is the old dog patch set right here. So is this. That's me in the doorway getting smashed over and over again.
Zam and Cheeto, your first
This is
reaction
Arkansas.
video to this. You guys, Cheeto was like, looks like that guy has a snake on him. That was me, like as a dead crew member with that like tube.
Now we're in Georgia.
I don't like snakes.
I don't think anybody likes snakes. Now, this was like a thing that Victoria wanted to do, where she was like, well, I can't just find the guy laying dead on the floor, so let's find something interesting, some interesting way to find him dead or whatever. So we put him in his quarters. Well, why is he dead in his quarters? You know, people were like, why is this guy dead in his quarters? So we had to like come up with an explanation in the next episode of why was he dead in his quarters. Just stuff that happens in filmmaking, you know?
Yeah, space
Jim,
cake.
I'm so sorry.
Space cake reasons.
Honestly, like, he could be dead anyway, though, can't he? Whether it be his quarters or not. So I don't really find that a big deal. I think it was a good way of explaining how to find him, personally.
I love this. I love this part.
Yellow.
Mason, I'm getting some very strange readings
Yellow,
off the
yeah.
crew members'
He's so
bodies.
happy.
Strange, like what kind of strange?
They all have this bizarre electromagnetic signature, like I've never seen before.
I just didn't want him to be like,
Almost as though
go
every
ahead.
single
You
body
know, I
were
wanted him
plugged
to answer the
directly into a power
communicator in kind
source.
of a funny way.
Well, at least it's nothing that can hurt them, right? They're dead.
He knocked me on my ass.
now,
Right there.
now, this zombie is Victoria Archer's husband.
That's where I got hurt doing that role.
You did it wrong.
Yeah, my ribs are sore for like 2 months.
If you wear the yellow, you got to learn how to roll.
So her husband's in the other room killing Tyler.
Oh, mate, I love it. I love it. I love it so much right now.
I have to admit, that was fun to animate.
There can be only one.
Oh, yeah, the roll, baby.
That was the hardest stunt to do.
And he
Yeah,
did have a
especially when
crash
she's-
pad for the role.
What the hell was that?
Archer
And
to
he brings
Commander
out his
Mason.
Marty McFly there.
Yeah, I'm still
What the
here.
hell was
I
that?
think.
I need you in engineering, sir. Right away.
On my way.
What's going on?
Report.
I would if I could, sir.
Space cake.
It's almost ready.
Oh, what's going on there?
And that was the only gripe that you guys had on your first watch through of this was that, like, well, what is that? What we don't know what to make of it. Well, we had to cut it there. It was intended that you would watch it, you know, part 2 immediately after, and it not be a cliffhanger, but it was split up into 2 parts because of CBS guidelines. So
In CBS, you know, everybody was like more afraid of CBS back then. So it's like, oh, we got to do the 2-part thing. We got to split it right at 15 minutes or whatever. But it's like CBS, you know, they just kind of don't care what we do these days. I mean, they've been really cool about fan films. I think that CBS legitimately just wants fan films to legitimately be fan films. They want fans making fan films.
And
as long as that's what it is, and it's not something that can be confused with their brand, they're not going to waste their time messing around with us. They don't care if we make a 45-minute film.
Yeah, and then No Budget Productions came along and put out like 45-minute fan films, and everybody's like, I don't think CBS cares.
So we'll go with, for... Any thoughts before we go to segment 2?
I had a question. How come Victoria's costume was the Into Darkness uniform, or I mean the Into Darkness uniform, and Tyler's costume and Archer's costume was the Star Trek Beyond costume? That always bothered me. But later on, Victoria's costume was the Beyond costume. Was it just the one you had available, or was that an intentional reason?
We thought it looked better on her, I think, was the original reason we went that direction. And then what we reasoned out later was that on away missions they wear the Into Darkness, and when they're on the spaceship they wear the Beyond. So essentially the Into Darkness is an away team uniform for girls, and Archer just didn't do it, so we were all over the place. It was our first film, but that was eventually what we came up with was we wanted to see them wearing different things when they were on away missions. So that's eventually where we went with it. So let's any other thoughts on segment 1 before we go to segment 2? Okay.
No.
All right, one moment.
Let's get some more space cake.
Space cake.
1 second.
Dude, I would love for Avalon to do merchandise and for it to have space cake as one of the merchandise. I'll buy it. I will buy it.
Me too.
You have to have the glowing effect. It would have to glow in the dark.
Yeah. Have to go in the dark. Yeah.
Oh, they look so delicious.
I'm gonna guess it's not supposed to do that.
Hey, I didn't design it.
I have no idea. I've never seen this before. It looks like the plasma reaction's just floating on the articulation frame.
Yes, Beck. Science the science.
Well, it doesn't read as drive plasma. There are different layers and concentrations.
It's a layer cake.
It looks as though the energy is being siphoned off the core and converted into some other form of
the
energy.
cake thing is technically the warp core. That's the dilithium crystal chamber.
Well, I can't say.
For TOS, for Constitution.
It's not constant.
It's got cake plasma in it.
It's happening in pulses. Almost like the energy is breathing.
Or feeding.
Thank you, Keith.
That's it. Derek, I think this is a life form.
An energy-based life form.
It makes sense. Other starships have encountered life forms not just based on other elements, but also energy, like on Organia.
Life finds a way, I guess.
Jeff Goldblum
even in the most hostile conditions.
Well, we can't get the ship moving with this thing sucking energy right from the core. Is there a
20 seconds.
gentle way we could coax it off the ship?
We could shut down the plasma reaction. It might lose interest.
We could vent the drive plasma through the warp nacelles. It might just follow the energy out.
It would fry the coils. But it might work.
Okay, give it a try.
My friend Cynthia
I think
does
this
the
thing is
computer
just keeping
voice.
the antimatter containment field stable.
Yeah.
If we shut down the reaction, we'll have to eject the antimatter containment pods as well.
Warning, antimatter containment field failing. Containment strength at 8%. Initiating emergency warp reactor core shutdown.
Isn't that the interrogator from Avalon Lost?
No, the computer voice is my friend Cynthia Maggard.
was that?
Yeah, I forgot to tell you, I got attacked by one of those things down in auxiliary control too.
You forgot.
We've been busy.
We've kind of been busy.
Improv that line.
Nice.
And that's what I think works really well with these characters is it's like the camaraderie that Mason and Beck have really works here, I think.
The control interfaces burn out.
Obviously, this life form can manipulate organic matter as well.
But not us.
No, we're alive. Our bodies generate our own electromagnetic field.
I guess. We need to get to engineering level 3.
I'm going to come back to this comment here.
Well, fuck that.
There are a lot of them out there.
Well, if we can't shut down the reaction, how are we supposed to stop this thing?
Like, nope. Close the door.
I may be able to manually eject the core from level 3.
Now,
they've cut us off from the armory on this level.
Question: If
we'll just have to conserve phaser power.
If the doors open automatically for like
that might not be enough.
signatures or whatever, would the zombies technically set off the door so it would just open when they got to it?
Maybe they locked
it.
it.
The situation.
Yeah, they could have. Yes. Hoagie
Subway sandwich.
Glad
It's
there
a
was a
hoagie-
foil-covered pipe sitting here.
Man, those are my favorite part of the whole film are the foil covered pipes.
Yeah, the Hokie assault.
Salami roll, as Zam called them.
Yeah.
Hey, look at this. Each pulse the HT absorbs off the core is consistent.
25 megawatts. Almost like it can only absorb 25 megawatts at a time?
Exactly.
I have an idea, but we need to get to the Jeffries tube.
Oh, here we go.
And I thought you were the one that said a mini skirt and go-go boots were a bad idea.
Guess I'll just have to own the situation.
He's using the force against her. No.
Well, kicking a zombie seems like a great way for a girl to get a run in her space tights.
Is that you, Josh?
Yeah.
The blood splatter is fantastic.
And she's really kicking me and really hitting me.
I was to say, you look like you're really killing it.
It would not be the last time.
Listen,
Putting
my favorite
Starbase
part's
operations
coming up
never
here.
really prepared us for this.
You know, there was a time when this sort of thing is why I joined Starfleet. I don't know what happened.
You joined Starfleet to be hunted by the undead.
No, action, adventure. You know, isn't that what Starfleet's about?
It's about
I guess I just got
diplomacy, mate.
comfortable running a starbase.
Yeah, well, save the monologue. You're about to have more action and adventure than you know what to do with.
There was no
It's
blood
like
on the
Shaggy.
walls. It was all posts, Jim.
It's not going to work. There are too many of them.
All right, go to full power.
Starfleet for captains is all
Go to-
about shagging a.
Go to Arnold mode.
Cool off.
And there they are.
What's
You got
the armory on this ship?
Don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired.
See you at the party, Victor!
What the hell are you guys doing? What does it sound like? We're trying to find the humor in our own impending deaths.
It's a boyfriend.
Jay,
Forgive me.
with me.
Ah, shit.
Out!
Oh, I killed Grandma.
Oh, come on! Oh!
I love him. Mason's just
I
like,
don't really touch his shoulders. Like, what the fuck?
he's like, I really wish I could do something about this, but
This is high school teacher.
Get to the shuttle!
Of course, the Alien. Aliens 3.
Oh, yes.
bye, space
Oh, no.
cake.
It's a nuclear man from. Oh no, it's not.
So why did it blow up? Is it set to blow up or
She remote detonated it.
Did she? Okay.
Which she says when she comes out of Jeffrey's tube.
This is like my favorite scene here.
Ah. Yuck.
Everybody okay?
What happened?
Oh, I overloaded and detonated the reactor core after I ejected it.
Like, oh, no
Blast
big
must
deal.
have overwhelmed the entity.
No puppets without a puppet master.
Yeah, that's the easy part. Now I gotta figure out how to get the ship back to Starbase 6 without a reactor core or a GDN.
Well, and then there's figuring out what to do with 400 dead bodies.
It's only Tuesday.
That Jeffrey tube looked like a fairground.
Personal log. Stardate 4140.8. A mission that started as a simple salvage operation turned into the type of first contact situation that is every Starfleet officer's nightmare. An energy-based life
In the void of
had
space,
taken
wouldn't
control
a
of the ship
shuttlecraft be able
and
to
turned the dead
tow
bodies
the
of its former
starship
crew
anyway?
against us.
Unless it
We
doesn't have
managed to
tractor
neutralize the entity, but Lieutenant
I don't know
Beck's
that those
tricorder
shuttles had
rings
tractor beams.
should be
They
studied
may not have,
closely
I don't know,
just in case
but-
Starfleet ever encounters
You
this
might be
life form
right.
again.
Theoretically, you could get outside of a starship and fart, and it would probably move.
In space, no one can hear you fart.
You could fart and go to Mars.
That's a lot of beans.
Lieutenant Archer has stabilized impulse power, and we are slowly on our way back. A once dead ship, now a ghost of its former self,
we
is
lost
hopefully on
Vance.
course to rise as a phoenix from the ashes. Who can say what destiny still awaits the USS Excalibur, a mighty sword, broken in
I
battle.
liked showing Mason actually being able to fly
Zombies.
the ship because it's like,
Yes,
oh,
sir.
he's actually competent
Space zombies.
in something, you know?
Well, if it helps, I didn't.
I do like
Space
the
shuttle, so
Space
I
zombies.
do like the I do
I don't
like
think
it when
anybody could
captains
predict
show
that,
what
sir.
division they
Well,
were prior to becoming
regardless of
captain.
the horrors
Like
that you
Janeway was a
encountered, you
scientist.
accomplished the mission.
Cisco
You brought
was more of an
Excalibur
engineer,
and her
you know,
crew
like stuff
home.
like that. I felt
And
like we didn't
overcoming
get that
odds
in
like
TOS,
that isn't
where we
something
got
that
to
goes
see
unnoticed.
what
Thank you, sir.
Like before
What
Captain
happens
Kirk,
to the
what was he?
Excalibur
Was he
now?
operations?
Considering the
Was he-
amount
I
of
don't even
damage she
remember.
sustained, she's going to be in space dock for several months. But it's
Archer
the
was a
perfect
helmsman,
opportunity to make her the test subject
Like he was a pilot.
for a brand new set of emerging starship
Oh,
technologies.
that was a zombie.
Poetic, considering it was a test of one such
I mean,
technology that wrecked her in the first
I
place.
sound like I'm
Nobody wants to admit
reading
but
poetry
the
the whole
Constitution
time.
class heavy cruiser is in need of a major redesign. Using Excalibur as a pathfinder will give us a chance to test many of those new components.
I would like do
before
this
the design is
completely
finalized.
differently if I had it to
New
do over
phasers,
again.
sensors,
Yeah, this is
deflectors.
just when
thing
you do
about
the
early
George
stuff,
Lucas,
though.
New crew?
I'm
the
sweet
George
talking
Lucas
and
remake or
new
whatever.
It's going to
Sir?
be a great refit.
Well, once
There's
Excalibur
nothing
is
to be uncomfortable
reforged,
about.
she's going to need someone to wield it. Captain Derek Arthur Mason.
Well, you're molding
Oh,
your
you
molding your
went there.
character to who he ends up
I
being.
did.
Thank you, sir. Well, I'm going to need one hell of a first officer.
And here we go again.
You know, she's the one that actually solves all the problems around here.
Well, then why don't I make her the captain?
Oh, no, thank you, sir. But we'll need someone to blame when everything goes wrong. And, well, I vote for it to be him.
I see.
Everybody votes for
Well, I
it to
guess
be
I
dead.
decided then. Congratulations, Captain
To
Mason.
blame, yeah.
Well, considering this job doesn't pay, just stay first officer.
I mean, that's what I say at work when I say I'm not in charge, I'm just responsible. They come after me when stuff goes sideways. By the way, nice transition there.
This was my favorite shot.
This was really fun. This was the first thing we shot on day
Chief
2.
engineer status.
New components are installed and functioning.
Beautiful.
Matter-antimatter reaction in the new chamber is stable. We're ready for warp speed.
All systems ready, Captain. All decks reporting green.
Okay then. Helm, speed warp 6. Engage.
Don't worry about the destination.
I love this TNG style go to warp shot that Sam did, and I absolutely adore the OG Avalon Universe theme. It had a lot to do with inspiring the theme that Adam Mullen made from it later, but I've always just loved this theme. So a few of you guys have questions here. We finish, I'm going to answer some of these questions.
Yeah, Nick did a great job with the music.
So, did you say we can ask questions, or?
Yeah, hold on just a second.
Jonathan Brown. I like that.
Stop here a second.
Who's that guy? Come on. Sounds like a guy who wears a
zone.
Sounds like a guy who wears a hat indoors.
All right. So we got a few questions in the comments, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So who did the visual effects for this episode? Well, it was a couple of people. I did some of it. And some of the visual effects were done by a friend of mine named Earl Hale. And that goes back to another question that came earlier. Sturm von Alk, we know who that is, asks, did you have the idea for the Cosmic Stream at this point, or did you use this as a segue? Well, the Cosmic Stream came from my friend Earl Hale. Earl Hale has this theory of the cosmic data stream, is what he calls it. Here's Vance again.
What up,
the cosmic
V-Man?
data stream is like his interpretation of all of existence. It's God, the universe, all of reality. It's information and existence all flowing through one. It's self-aware. It's sort of the center point of existence. And he talks about it in this really poetic way, and I just kind of incorporated it. He's never said that he's mad at me for doing that, but he's never really commented on it either. But he's worked on a lot of the films. So that's the thing, that idea, the Cosmic Stream, came from my friend Earl Hale, who's a really eclectic and groovy guy. And he did, where you'd see the zombie get vaporized and you'd see their bones and stuff. He did that. The CGI visual effects were done by Sam Cockings, of course, who is, the guy in fan films now for that sort of thing. What did we use for the black dribble glue? It was just chocolate. I think it was just chocolate syrup. That's all it was. I think maybe we put something in it to give it a little bit more texture, but it was just chocolate syrup. Warp 6 to wherever. Yeah. If you go to Demons, we poke fun at that because no thought was given to where are we going, what course are we setting, and so that became a joke in the next film of Warp 6. Is there a course you want to set somewhere, Captain? That was kind of what we had there. But I think that some things to me that stand out about this is really the character relationships between the three different characters there. I think it works really well in this episode, but then, and I'd hope to continue that, but the thing that happens is it didn't work out that way. And with each character, when they're not the three characters together, those characters all had to evolve and change in order for it to work. Oddly enough, with both Beck and Mason, they had to become more serious characters because this, funny back and forth that they had, it worked here, but with those characters on their own, it wasn't really the same. So we had to, when those characters became more individualized in the storytelling, we had to change those characters. Tyler, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really don't have much to add. I think that there's a bit of banter. I mean, the dynamic is different, obviously, between Mason and Archer than between Beck and Mason. But they have a different dynamic, obviously. But Mason and Archer have now found themselves kind of connected in their story arc. So we see them together a lot, and there's a bit of that kind of banter still, but between the two of them, even though it's different, it's still a thing.
The seriousness is that from coming back from the dead. Is that what made him more serious?
Yeah.
No, seriously,
I would say yes. Yes, I would say yes. I, as the actor who plays the character, would say that's my take. Yes, he's been through a lot, and we get to see in Cosmic Stream in the flashback scene, we get to see why he's so emotionally guarded, and he deflects with humor. When somebody he doesn't like talking about his personal stuff, and he's just like, he'll make a joke or whatever. Or say something stupid, just to look at the monkey, look at the silly monkey, But
Zam, give me your thoughts on Ghost Ship.
Well, initially we saw Demons first, didn't we? Myself and Cheeto, and unfortunately that wasn't the best. The best first impression we had of this particular universe. We never really found it the most engaging story. So when we came across this, and I think we were recommended by yourself or somebody to watch this, and
this guy,
it was definitely a breath of fresh air, and it was something that we thoroughly appreciated. You guys were having a good time. The story itself was not not complicated or convoluted. It was just a simple story of going on this ghost ship, so to speak, and finding out what the hell's going on. The zombie aspect of it was a nice touch, a nice twist. Something people are familiar with, but you're putting it into the Star Trek universe as well. And then having a laugh with all the accents and with all the Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff and everything. It just came together. Sometimes certain elements can come together and not work at all, and sometimes certain elements which shouldn't work comes together and works perfectly. And that's what it was with Ghost Ship. And I think the fact that you guys looked like you were having fun and you weren't taking it too seriously made it much more enjoyable. Sometimes when you're only doing something for 10, 20 minutes, that's what you got to do, instead of making it so long-winded. Just stick to a particular format and get it going. And I very much enjoyed it. I can't remember what I marked it, but I'm sure I gave it a decent mark nevertheless.
Cousin Cheeto, your thoughts on Ghost Ship?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I've never been a huge TOS fan. I don't like the Connie class. I don't like anything like, from that era so much. I mean, however, the dynamic in this movie really brought a breath, like as Zam said, a breath of fresh air in, like, what?
This bird flew by.
Oh yeah,
Jadzia.
She's juicy now.
Yeah, big fat bird.
My big fat bird.
But I really like the Avalon Universe is really the only place I've ever gone by watching any fan films, anything. I'm more of a post TNG guy. I like DS9. I like I like a lot of that stuff past TNG. But with the Avalon Universe, like you're right, like there's a mixture here of, even though you're in TOS uniforms, TOS set, it feels just very organic for the times. You know what I mean? Like it's not, some people try to replicate TOS and it's like, it feels like it's in the 60s, and I don't like that. I'm sorry. Like I respect and acknowledge the originals, but I really feel like, that was almost 60 years ago? More? Like,
yeah, coming up on 60 years ago.
Yeah. So it's like, I really feel like that you guys have found that where you're like, okay, we are obviously in this era. However, we are updating how things go, the acting, the look, the feel. It's a little bit more loose, because TNG also, they kind of leaned a little bit into the seriousness too a lot of times. So I really felt like this is probably one of my favorite products to ever come out of TOS era. And I'm not talking fan films. Well, no, okay. It's right there with Strange New Worlds at this point. Strange New Worlds is very good. But still, like, prior to Strange New Worlds, this was absolutely my favorite thing that's ever come out of TOS era. So, I mean, and that goes a lot with the characters, the universe, the dynamics, the writing, the directing, these episodes. You guys do a lot with so little that you have. And you guys really don't, you guys think you have a lot. You guys really don't. You don't have a Paramount lot. You don't have, you have there's 3 sets involved technically. Like there's a hallway, there's the bridge, I know there's a transporter room, but I don't know if that's kind of in the same place. You have a quarters, but you don't have a lot to work with.
Well, it's interesting because it depends on which studio we're filming in. We film in both now. If you're talking about Neutral Zone in Kingsland, Georgia, which were the Star Trek Continues sets, those have everything. Those are a virtual, just like a complete layout of a replica from the 1966 exact layout on the soundstage.
I'll be right back.
Whereas with regards to Warp 66, the studios are in a couple of different buildings, so they're separated. Like you've got one building that has the transporter room, the briefing room, the sick bay, the corridor, that sort of stuff, and then another building is the bridge. So it's a little bit different of a dynamic shooting in Arkansas versus shooting in Georgia. But the neat thing about shooting in Arkansas is that Dan Reynolds and Glenn Wolfe, they really get involved in helping out the production. They're there with us while we're filming. They're working on the production while we're filming. They've and those are 2 of the most useful guys you can ever have on set. I mean, they've got a lot of production experience. They make their own films, and they just love doing it. So every day that we're shooting, those guys are there helping us out. And they've let us heavily modify their sets to give it kind of our Avalon look. It would be really difficult to, he's like, Glenn is texting me now while I'm talking to you guys, but it's really it would be really difficult to modify anything at Neutral Zone because it's built differently than Warp 66 is. Whereas there's more flexibility because the guys who actually built Warp 66 are there and they can get in there and modify a set. One thing Glenn wanted us to mention is that he has a compartmentalized area away from the rest of the set where he builds episode specific sets or swing sets. You talked about a crew quarters. In Demons, he built a crew quarters. For Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs, he built the obelisk from the Paradise Syndrome, the Preserver's obelisk. We went in and we shot there this weekend, and that was a ton of fun. So different dynamic shooting on both sets, but I really love the experience. Like, it's fun to take a road trip down to Neutral Zone. Everybody's like, oh, it's a 16-hour drive. I love the 16-hour drive. Like, I do it so much. Wow. It doesn't bother me at all. I love a road trip with my friends.
And I just want to clarify, it's not that I think that the set looks bad at all. The set looks fantastic that they're on. Like, it looks right out of a Paramount stage. I'm not really a fan of the Connie class and kind of some of that setup. I like more of like the Defiant class setup, which is a little bit more like the Defiant, like compartmentalized. I can't say the word right, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not so open. It's not so, so the studios that you guys work at look phenomenal. Like, for not being a studio set, it looks absolutely fabulous compared to, what the original TOS stage sets look like.
Yeah, there's Go ahead, Sam.
So those Czech Star Trek fan filmmakers, they had like a Defiant type of style, didn't they? For Squadron.
Yeah.
Which is one of the best Star Trek fan films I've ever seen, by the way. It's absolutely fantastic. People should see that if they haven't seen that. It's really good. And yeah, that's the sort of thing I think maybe Cheeto was looking out for regarding that sort of Defiant style. I just also want to add as well that as reactors and reviewers, we do like to rip on what we like to see. Even if stuff we enjoy, we have to rip on it a little bit here and there. I mean, we've been doing fan films throughout the month of October on Halloween and stuff like that, and yeah, we've been ripping on all of these fan films. Like there's a Joker Batman one. You saw that one, didn't you, Vance? Yeah, I'm not sure how you found that particular one. I liked it. Cheeto hated it for some reason.
Hated it so much.
Yeah, but we still ripped on it either way.
To me, the Joker was the worst thing about the film, and I felt like if you're building your whole film on that character and it doesn't work, it falls flat. So to me, to me it just didn't work. But I tried not to throw shade at someone who puts their heart and soul into something. So I sat there and watched it because you guys were reviewing it. I wouldn't watch it on my own just because I won't watch another one by them, bless their hearts, and that's all I really can say, I mean, if they're doing what they love, who the hell am I to say any different? So,
to answer Keith's question here, he talks about, well, it's not really a question, but his statement, TOS sets mean a lot of, TOS films, green screen with 3D sets are hard. That's why that was one of the reasons that I didn't do a fan film for a long time, is because I didn't want to do green screen. I didn't want to do that because I didn't feel that I would do that very well. And so it was really the fact that there were sets available that was the catalyst for me pulling the trigger on doing this, because there was a lot of, devotion put into the quality of those sets at both studios by the people who both built them and care for them. And that made it to where we could shoot so many different things, shoot the kind of camera angles we wanted, move the camera around, light it up, do the craft of filmmaking. So that was a lot of the reason we chose to go this direction.
I think green screen also affects the acting as well. I think the acting, when you can physical sets, I think it's so much better for the overall acting. I've seen people do green screen Star Trek fan films and they're typing, or they're like on a control panel, but they're missing the control panel by about an inch. So they're basically typing on thin air. You know what I mean? And this is, oh god, and the guy looks like he's half asleep doing it as well. All he's doing is this. You know what I mean? Like he's doing doggy paddle in the ocean. Definitely. I appreciate the sets.
It's one of those things where you have to pay attention to detail and be very specific on what you're doing. I mean, it can look just as authentic as being on a real set, but I mean, if you look like you're doggy paddling when you're on the bridge, I mean, of course that's not going to look right. So you have to shoot from the right angles. You have to take the time, the TLC. And the problem with a lot of productions, and I don't care if you're on a real set or if you're on a 3D set or if you're just doing green screen, taking the time to do it properly and making it look right. That's where your TLC needs to go into, not CGI, not other stuff that supposedly looks good that everyone just gives so much credit to, but actually putting the TLC into the right things. Which, if you're working on a specific type of thing, put your TLC into that, not look at the CGI over here. Like, nobody cares about that type of stuff if your people are dog paddling like that. I mean, just people focus on the wrong things, and very seldom do they focus on those things. So to me, it's like I've seen green screen films that look just as good as authentic, and I've seen people that shoot on the bridge of the Enterprise that looks just as tacky as someone who has a crappy 1970s model that they're basically holding with their hands. So it matters how much time you take on the right things. So
Vance, I think that you have proven that more than anything, the most important elements to filmmaking are story and characters.
Yeah, I mean, look at Mr. White. He's one of the best characters in any fan film, and his films are that cost nothing, but
he's like sitting on his own couch. Who am I disappointed today?
The best line he did. Oh my god! I mean, bless his heart.
So Keith says, don't know if Farragut will ever make their sets available for other productions. I don't think they're keeping all of their sets standing at any one time. I believe they built the corridor and the sick bay, shot on them, and then took them down.
The thing
and then
you
they're
have
going
to
put up another, like their bridge or something, and shoot on that. So I don't think that their sets are all up at once, kind of the way Neutral Zone is. I think
the thing you have to look at for sets, and this goes back to my limited knowledge from the Starbase Studios stuff back in the Oklahoma days, and what limited stuff I know from Glenn and Dan is you have to do set maintenance, and that at the end of the day, it really will boil down to, for them, is that going to be cost effective to maintain that, and then how much do you charge, if you do charge at all? So because when you're filming, you do have to maintain sets, and things do break and things do wither down, and all that stuff. It's not metal, it's not titanium, it's wood. So, and those things break down over time. So
And
you have to
foam.
repaint them. Just repainting that costs an arm and a leg. So just maintaining those things, is that going to be worth it to do it? And I would guess probably not. They probably do have breakaway sets that they put up, film it, and break down. I would guess they probably won't be open to the public, but that's just a guess from a guy who's with a cord in the door.
And they've been through a lot making their films, and they probably not want to go through those same experiences again. So I would imagine their sets are going to be closed.
I want to comment on the comment down below. I would love to have a discussion with this panel on about Roddenberry and apparently his would-be hate for Deep Space Nine and later treks. Not today. That's a whole nother.
Oh yeah.
But I've got issue with that, and I do agree with the statement. But you can only tell so many stories around everything is great. But there's a lot to that. There's like the Federation is great, but not everyone around the Federation is great, and that's where a lot of the stories come from with DS9 and Voyager and stuff like that. So that's a huge topic to discuss, and I would love to sit down with a panel and talk like a whole hour-long episode about that, because I've got some thoughts.
I'd really like to do something like that, because you can really weigh the Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future versus human nature and the reality of things, and then that of course factored in behind the scenes on how they were able to write episodes and all that kind of thing. In the big Gene Roddenberry vision of the future utopia, that wasn't even really a thing until TNG or TMP era. Like he didn't have that philosophy in TOS, and that's why there's such a huge change. But yes, that's definitely a topic we should cover.
Well, he didn't even want. If you remember the episode Yesterday's Enterprise, he was dead set against that. He didn't want that episode, and they all had a meeting about that, and he told them flat out, "We're not doing this." And then as soon as he left, I think it was Rick Berman said, "Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do this." And
Yesterday's Enterprise is my favorite episode of TNG. Didn't mean to interrupt,
too.
Vance, but yeah.
No, you're fine.
So fuck Roddenberry.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I wanted to say that. I wanted to say fuck Roddenberry too, but I was a bit worried it'll be disrespectful.
Well, and here's the thing about Star Trek. But here's the thing about Star Trek is like it is Roddenberry's creation, but the fans have taken it so much further.
They've put him up on a pedestal like some messiah complex, and it's like, look, I don't think he's all that. I mean, yes, he created Star Trek, but like I have some very different fundamental ideas on what Star Trek is. Like I love DS9, but I know if it was up to Roddenberry, it would never have got made. Now, I think the way the characters on DS9 look at the Federation and how they see it as, oh, the Federation's perfect in its ideas, but they fundamentally look at how the Federation is and question that, and I love that. And now Gene Roddenberry, we would have got more TNG season 1, season 2, and that's not my version of Star Trek. So I mean.
So yes, let's definitely table that for the next Avalive.
If you don't mind, I just want to quickly ask Vance.
Because it's a cool topic.
Vance, I love seeing like some of the stuff Frank puts out regarding all the sets he's building and everything. Is he ever going to put that into use, or has he put that into use for fan films?
Frank?
Yeah, because we're seeing that project built from scratch.
He was sending me pictures today. of it.
Frank is the sets that he made
Uh-huh.
at home. Has he like started to consider like making fan films using that, because it's remarkable what he's created.
Yeah, we have several films that are like we've got a film that is already in the it's already being shot and it's in the process of being shot on. We're going to be doing one for Christmas that I'm going to be writing this week, sending it off to him. So yeah, I expect that one for this year, one for next year, or maybe two for next year, depending. But yeah, you'll be seeing more, and there's more that you haven't seen. So sadly, I can't talk too much about it. But
no, I
yeah,
understand.
There's more
Yeah,
there.
I mean,
There's
and
more there.
Frank's version of the bridge, I mean, I really do like that because it's, as I said, it's kind of got that like combat, like sleek look to it. It's, I'm really digging it. As I said, I like that. And like, if I were to film a fan film in the TOS era, that's the bridge I would want to use. Like, because I want something that's close quarters, that you can look over your shoulder and like your weapons officer is right here. Like even the TNG bridge it's huge. It's like it's the penthouse suite of bridges. I love Enterprise's bridge because it's just so submarine like. It's just it is what it is. And as I said, the TOS one, if that's your bag, hey, go for it.
Coincidentally, Cheeto, the Enterprise bridge is just a redress of the Defiant bridge. They took the skeleton of the Defiant bridge and rebuilt it as the Enterprise bridge.
For what?
Fascinating.
Tyler, you're not muted. You're here. I don't know why we can't hear you.
Me? You can't hear me?
No, Tyler's having an issue.
Oh.
We've lost
He
Tyler.
He looks so lost right now.
One thing I wanted to add, and it was when everyone's giving their opinion on Ghost Ship. Although I think Ghost Ship is a strong film, I think the fact that you started off with two genres, zombie, Star Trek, and you had three great characters who their interactions were the heart of the film. I think what you've done with the entire universe, you had the stories evolve, and I know it wasn't your original intent to go the direction you have, but I think you've really made lemonade out of the lemons that you were handed, and quite well, because you kept at the heart of each story that you told the characters and the dynamic that the characters had. You didn't have complete comedies, but you did have lightheartedness in serious situations, which is real life. I mean, look at us. We've had some serious conversations from time to time. And we've also had us, telling jokes and cracking on each other. That's real life. And that's what I think the Avalon universe works best as, is it tells those real life stories in Star Trek. And you evolved the characters by adding and taking away, and then adding back, and then taking away again, and changing and rotating through people, and growing the Avalon universe that you created from the beginning. And I think it's one of those things where you do have your own universe in a way that, even though it wasn't your intent in the beginning, it was really well done. And that's something that other fan film quote unquote franchises don't have, and I think they try so hard, and that's where they fail, is you just let everything happen organically, and it's like, well, you know what, I kind of want to do a story about this, fuck it, let's do that. And that's where you went right. You just let everything flow. So I wanted to say I enjoy that about your storytelling. So
thanks, Vance. Yeah, something interesting you said is doing Star Trek and zombies. When I was just doing indie film stuff, I always made the vow that I would never make a zombie movie because everybody was doing them. You know what I mean? My friend Eric Parkinson, who's a filmmaker, he used to own a film distribution company that would put DVDs in Walmart, and he would be like, "Oh, you shouldn't make zombie movies. Oh, there are too many zombie movies. Please stop making them. We can't sell them. And So I kind of was just kind of like, this is overdone, so I'm probably not going to make a zombie movie. But then when it came to, to doing a Star Trek fan film, Vance was like, he said, we were talking about originally just filming at Warp 66 or what was, I guess it was Starbase at that point.
Yep.
But, he was saying, well, there's no power in the building, which there wasn't back then. There is now. But he was like, there's no power in the building. And the only way that I'm able to shoot there is if I'm like, oh, the ship's destroyed or, it's crashed on a planet or it's damaged or something. And I was like, okay, so they're rescuing, a deserted ship that has no power. Okay, they're going to board the USS Excalibur and they're going to salvage the ship by fighting space zombies. Okay, this is what we're doing. And like the idea literally came to me that fast. But it was like, where in indie films, like, I don't think I'm going to make a zombie film because everyone does it. With Star Trek fan films, it was like, but nobody's done this in Star Trek fan films. So it was like a perfect opportunity to kind of do that. And when Glenn, when I went to Glenn and I was saying, oh, we're going to make this, zombies in Star Trek, he was like, I thought that wasn't going to work, and all zombies in Star Trek, And then when he watched it, he actually liked it. So, sorry, I'm doing impressions of people. That's just something Tyler and I do.
It's what we do. That's how we roll.
He just
keep doing it.
Work. But he liked it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I like it too. And like, you're an indie filmmaker. You're going to make a zombie movie regardless. I mean, it's inevitable. And in this particular case, you merged, merged it with your favorite, with your favorite thing. I believe Star Trek's your favorite thing. So, so what better way to do it than to do it in Star Trek? And I don't even think I've ever seen zombies in Star Trek before.
Because there haven't been.
There was that DS9 episode where Garrett gets that green liquid on his hand, and and all these Kardashians are like turning into zombies. No, wasn't that one? Well, anyway,
a musical episode in Avalon. Oh, you will get a taste of that.
Get some music in Crisis.
You'll get a little bit.
Was there a Vulcan zombie episode?
Huh?
Sorry, Mark's gone.
Well, go ahead, Sam. Go ahead, Sam. You go ahead, brother.
Okay. Wasn't there a Vulcan zombie episode on Enterprise as well? Maybe
there was.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
but to answer that last comment, there in Crisis there will be a character whose dialogue is mostly sung.
You doing Ghost Ship the way you did with the different uniforms and being zombies and you made yourself stand apart in a way that if you just had put on TOS uniforms and shot on the TOS bridge and had TOS ships and just was another TOS films, because that's one thing. Like I and again, forgive any TOS hardcore fans out there, forgive me, I hate TOS. I don't like it. TNG and DS9 were my that was my go-to Star Trek as a kid. I never liked TOS stuff. Strange New Worlds has really turned me onto that era of Star Trek, because I think the writing is just really good. But I didn't care for TOS. I mean, who likes their parents' Star Trek? That was my mentality as a kid, and I never cared for it. But you have to work with what you have, and that's what you did really well here. And so doing all those different things really made everybody kind of step up and take notice. Because one, your production value is excellent, from lighting to where you're putting your money, what limited money you do have. Because again, you don't have $50,000, $100,000, $200,000. Like, you have a very modest budget, and of course, not modest as opposed to what I have. But
tell my wife that.
But I mean, you have a very small budget, and you're very choosy on where you put that money. So doing those things, you were different enough, and you stood out enough to say we're not just another TOS fan film, we're something a little different, and it really shows. You did really, really well with everything that you established, especially that first film, to where it made people want to come back and go, what next? And then in your second film, that was just a risk of like, wow, what? Everything you did was always, the stakes went up with everything else, and it made you want to see more, which is always a sign of a good fan film. What next? It's like a comic book, man. You get to the end of the 30 pages, and you get to the end, and it says, tune back in next month, and you're like, fuck, I can't wait another 30 days to see what happens. And that's what you've done. Wait to the next one. What next? So
it's
hats off to all you got.
Because it's always worked out that way, because it's never gone the way we planned it to go. It's I think that one of the greatest skills in filmmaking is overcoming adversity. And so, because like I've always talked about the 4 films, there's the perfect film you watch in your head, the film you write, the film you shoot, the film you edit. And this has been that to an extreme. Yep. You know what I mean?
Every time it's always been a change. Like at least 10 times you've got something different going, and it's never been you saying, I'm just going to change direction. It's always been something else. But you adapt. But that's part of filmmaking, is learning to adapt with what changes around you and just going forward. So that's commending you as a filmmaker, because a lot of filmmakers just say, fuck it, it didn't go as I wanted, and I'm not going to do it. You didn't do that. You could have given up so many times, and you chose not to. So,
True.
With the recast all the time
there have been points since this one, we made this film 4 years ago, where the whole thing could have burned to the ground multiple times over. And it was just sheer like unwillingness to give up that's kept it going. I do want to kind of tie something together with what you were talking about a second ago, Vance. And that is something that someone who's watching this said to me over the weekend. He said that there was another fan filmmaker who once said, if it's not Kirk and Spock, it's not Star Trek.
What?
There was another fan filmmaker who said something like that. And
oh my God.
I think that defeats the purpose of fan films, because we do fan films because we want to be part of this. And we can't all be Kirk and Spock. We love the world of Star Trek. We love this universe so much that we want to be a part of that. And we all find a way to be a part of that universe. For us, for you, Vance, that's been creating the Menard character and all the different ways that he has seen this universe. For people like our friends at the Federation Files, they've explored the TOS universe in a wider way than anyone has, because they've featured so many different ships, so many different, anthology stories. That's the freedom that they have. That's how they've stood out, is by doing a different ship in almost every film, which is really neat. Even if that's, not Kirk and Spock, that's still a very important part of Star Trek. We have all have our own way that we relate to it.
Evil Menard is my favorite character in fan films, just so you know. I love Mirror Menard. Love him. I want you to do a whole fucking series on him. You're just causing shit to everybody, fucking everything up. I love it so much. It's so much
every
more
different
fun.
episode is Mirror Menard messing with another fan film captain. Like,
I love it. Yeah. It's just the best.
I would fucking love for Mason to face off with Mirror Menard.
Dude, I could see Phantom trying to do that role that you did in Ghost Ship and be like, oh, my fucking back. The thing is, whoever said, if it's not Kirk or Spock, it's not Star Trek. To me, without being too personally insulting to whoever said this, because obviously I don't know, but I think I find that a very ignorant statement, because whenever we're kids and we get our first uniform, you know, or, you know, if we're on Halloween, we're trick-or-treating or whatever, you know, it's that thing called imagination that we have. If you're going to put that type of limitation on anyone, you're limiting what they can do. And who the hell am I to say if it's not Kirk or Spock, it's not Star Trek? Like that for me is just too big of a thing to say. So I find that a very ignorant statement.
I mean, one of my biggest things about Star Trek that I love about Star Trek is infinite possibilities and infinite variations across infinite worlds. Like, I mean, that is Star Trek. Like, I understand it started as a TV show. It is not real. We all know that. We're not stupid. But like, there is a baseline. How can I say this? There is a baseline fundamental factor in that we all want different. You know, the universe is vast. The universe is big. The Milky Way galaxy is big, and they've only explored like 20% of it at the, you know, in Star Trek so far. That's including Voyager and its little trek across road trip across the Milky Way. So I mean, there's just so much you can do with Star Trek, and to limit yourself just to 2 characters, at which, yes, they set the bar, but not everybody thinks that bar was very high to begin with. And it's been exceeded. You know what I mean? I think Captain Mason is much better than Captain Kirk. I'm sorry. I just.
Aw.
Hey. Well, I gotta say this: the fan film community. If we were to only limit ourselves to Kirk or Spock, I mean, almost every fan film is gone. And I have to say, when I started fan films, I was suicidal. I didn't, you know, I really didn't have many friends. I was cut off from most people, and I was pretty much an introvert, you know. Having been part of this community, I've made tons of friends, people that I love and adore. And I know it sounds kind of corny to think of us as a fleet, but I do. You know, I've never met Tyler in person, but I know as soon as I see him, it's going to be a big old hug, man, because hey, we finally met. You know, I can't wait to work with you in November.
I can't believe you've not met him. You've met Josh, and Josh has met Tyler.
We've met in person twice.
What's that?
Wow, that's
Amir
amazing.
Menard knife in the back. You got to watch out, Tyler.
Yeah.
but that's the thing. Like, that goes for a lot of us. A lot of us in fan films have never met, but we feel like we have because we do these, you know, podcast type things or StreamYard type things. And that's that, you know, or we'll do the com box type thing for like the Menard films, or, you know, like every time I've been on Josh's film, it's been on green screen, you know, because like I've never been able to make it to set when he's filmed. So, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, doing these films, you get to know the people, and having that mentality of, if it's not Kirk or Spock, it's not Star Trek. Well, man, you would have taken away a family that I have, you know, an extended family. And I mean, obviously, anyone who knows my profile, I'm a happy father. I'm a happy husband. I'm pretty much a happy guy most of the time. Like, it's a complete 180 degrees from where I was when I first started fan films. And Josh and I talk quite often overnight, just bullshitting around over dumb shit. You would have robbed me of a unique friendship with a great guy.
Well, and I mean, that's kind of the same thing with me as like with Zam. I've never personally met Zam, but I've known him for almost 15 years.
Right.
We have been friends for almost 15
Wrestling
years
Revolution.
now.
Wrestling
Yeah, I mean, and I have never actually met him, but we met through just one of these nerdy things that we were doing. It was a wrestling thing back years and years ago. But I mean, that these kind of things connect people in a way that even though you're not physically there, they can do it. And Star Trek has that ability to unite people, because everybody not everybody, but most people probably know NerdTube and Vance, you know, Major didn't have exactly the greatest, you know, beginnings, but you know what, but through all of that, like, but here's the thing is that I've always said that Vance is the epitome of what the essence of the Federation is. Openness, inclusiveness. Even if you get a rough start, you extend the olive branch and you make it work. And then, I mean, if the other person is just like the Klingons, they're just like, you know, like, but like, if you extend the olive branch, it's like you reap what you sow, and that's what I'm saying is like this community has done that for a lot of people, because I'm pretty sure if this was a Star Wars thing, I'm pretty sure that that V-Man would have been like, you guys suck, and I'm gonna kill you. Go ahead, Zam.
I just
I'm
want to
sorry.
quickly also add as well, like you guys kind of got to know me when I was changing my life, because Cheeto's known me for a long time, and he knew me as somebody who would get high as a fucking kite every fucking night. You know what I mean? I was constantly blowing my brains out, smoking and all of that. And it kind of made me a bit of a dickhead, so to speak. And I do feel those sort of elements, even though they still might be within me, have definitely reined back a lot now that I'm not getting high every day. I've changed. I really have. I feel like a changed person. I'm not smoking anymore.
Congratulations.
You know,
Yes.
I haven't smoked for now for over 2 years. You know, weed, cigarettes, all of that stuff. I've given
Good
up
for
a
you.
lot more money in my pocket as well.
Cheers,
which is
mate.
fucking-
Mason
very
salute.
much.
Mason salute with a mason jar.
But I'm happy that you got to know me then, because honestly, I might not have been so bearable if I was still on that shit. You know what I mean? So as Cheetah might know me, so you caught me at the right time, so to speak. Somebody who wanted to better himself and not be what I used to be. But I know what I used to be. I don't want to be that person ever again.
Well, we love you, man. We really do. Like you are
you.
a great guy, man.
Indeed.
Thank you very
and
much.
it's wonderful to meet somebody from the other side of the world. It's someone like you from the other side of the world, and hear your perspective on things, and be proud to call you a friend.
Well,
it's really been a treasure in my life.
You've met another person of similar ethnicity to Sam, also from the same place Sam was from, and that was not so much of a pleasure.
But hey, look, it's our friend Jim Von Daltron's watching, and he's got a great
Jim.
Jim loves the Avalon Universe, and Jim is about to be part of the Avalon Universe here after too long. Jim and I are going to be producing an Avalon Universe film called The Omega Probe, which is going to be made after The Once and Future Captain. So it will be the first Avalon Universe film that strays away from our core central characters and goes and tells another story in the Avalon Universe unrelated to the story started in Ghost Ship. Now, what I will say is that, Ghost Ship is part of a story, an overall story, and it started with Ghost Ship. It's going to carry through the films we've had. There was really only a vision originally for 4 films. It was supposed to have a shelf life. And so we haven't told all 4 stories yet. So there was Ghost Ship, the Demons of Air and Darkness story, Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs, all culminating in what we're now calling the Once and Future Captain. And so those stories haven't all been told yet, but after the Once and Future Captain, that story is told, it's over with, and we're going to go explore other stories in the Avalon Universe, and the Omega Probe will be the first story that does that. It's still a good year away or more, but it's what we're working on. Or we're not even planning on shooting it for another year. But that's the story that's coming after all of this. So it's it's just kind of an interesting peek into things to come. I think with just to address some notes here. With Avalive, we'll get a little bit more airbrushed with this. We filmed all weekend, and so I'm still kind of like recovering from that, so I didn't have time to like prepare the presentation better. But the next Avalive we do, I want to do this. We have a film that we want to release. It's very close to being finished. It's called The Truth Within, and it stars our friend Vance. And I would love to do the following. I want to release The Truth Within, and it has this really interesting story about the Prime Directive, about the whole, what's the right choice with regards to the Prime Directive, and the Prime Directive is a Gene Roddenberry thing. So let's release The Truth Within and have an Avalive where we watch it. And then we have our panel on Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future versus the other elements that have been incorporated in Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, the TMP movies, Harv Bennett, Nicholas Meyer type stuff, and we can have that round table and tie it in with the film. How does that sound, guys?
Great with me.
Okay, we'll get that set up, and that will be our next Avalive. And we're also, as we do these, we're going to share production updates, previews and shots to look forward to in the next films. We'll discuss topics like the design of Elcars or other production design elements, or why we're doing costumes a certain way. We'll tell funny stories from the set. So we'll always have like a theme, something that will go behind the scenes of the production, but we'll also have a topic to talk about. And we're coming up on almost 2 hours. I'm glad that you guys came and shared this. Making Ghost Ship was a memorable experience. It's one of the top filmmaking experiences of my entire life, definitely in the top 3. And I hope that what we're doing now, the film we're doing now, is also going to be one of the top filmmaking experiences of my life. If every shooting weekend we have for this goes the way this last one did, that's for sure going to be the case. So with that, does anybody have any final thoughts?
Yeah, we pretty much said everything. I just look forward to the future.
Same here. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us. Thank
To the
everybody.
future.
Screw the future.
Yeah, I want to say like this. This experience, being able to play a starship captain in in a Star Trek fan series is a childhood dream fulfilled, and I have Josh to thank for that, dude. I can't thank you enough for giving me this opportunity, and it's been just an absolute blast, and afforded me the opportunity to meet such freaking cool people like Zam, Cheeto, and Vance, and guys like Jim Von Doltron and Glenn, and all these really cool people that I wouldn't know if it wasn't for Avalon Universe. And it's been a great freaking experience.
And I want to thank you, Tyler, for sticking with it. I know that it's not always been easy, but
we've had there have been some rough times, yeah. And we both, I think it's a testament to our friendship and our love of Star Trek, that we've gone through so much hard stuff in making these films, and here we still are, still standing and still going and still making films. And
filmmaking is hard. Not everyone can do it. And it's definitely not for the faint of heart. One thing I can relate it to is one of our actors, Cora Wilson, who plays T'Pren. She used to be a cage fighter, a mixed martial arts cage fighter. Now she owns a martial arts gym. And I remember when we were shooting Needs of the One, she talked about how she would have to do things like train 7 days a week, or that she'd end up meal planning on Thanksgiving, because she couldn't, gorge on Thanksgiving food if she was going to go fight in a cage. You know what I mean? And it's like that sort of devotion to something is how you accomplish anything, and it's the same with filmmaking. If you don't have sort of a ridiculous devotion to it, to the point that people are going, why are you doing this? What is wrong with you? Like, do you not have a real life? If your family isn't looking at you funny, your parents, your uncle, sometimes it's your wife going, why are you doing this? Like, you're taking this a little too far, aren't you? If you're not that devoted to it, you're not going to accomplish anything or anything.
This is your real life. This is your real life. When people say stuff like that, what is a real life? This is your real life. Everyone's real life is different, and this is yours.
Well, it's not like you make it your life. It's not. It is your passion and your love. You love filmmaking. You just happen to love filmmaking in the Star Trek universe. I mean, that's why people. It's like, why do you do the things you do? Well, why do you do the things you do?
Why do you play Dungeons and Dragons? That's so nerdy. Because it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't if for somebody like me or for a team like ours, if we don't play above ourselves, to use a sports analogy, you're never going to actually produce the type of quality fan films that we do, because we have to really, I've got to wear a lot of hats on set. I've got to do a lot of things you normally wouldn't do on a film set, and it's hard, and it takes it out of you. But if you don't have that kind of devotion, that's the difference between it being a good idea in your head and something that exists as a film somewhere where somebody can see it. And the last thing that I'll say about an experience like this is you really do figure out who your real friends are.
Yeah.
The people who endure, the people who stick by you, the people who are honest, the people who give of themselves to each other. When you go through this kind of hardship, you really do find out who your friends are. And finally, we talked a lot about other fan films, that sort of thing. Jonathan Lane likes to say there's no such thing as a bad fan film. I talked earlier about how we all relate to the Star Trek universe in our own way, and every fan film does that. And I firmly believe there's no such thing as a bad fan film. So on that note, we'll be back. But thank you to everyone. Tyler,
sorry. I have one last thing to say. Zam and Cheeto, I watched when you guys finally, responded when I was asking you, you did the Demons review and hated it and didn't know what it was about because, you didn't have the full context. And I was like, hey, watch Ghost Ship. And then you guys did. And I was so excited. And that video, your reaction to Ghost Ship Part 1, dropped about 20 minutes before I got the phone call that my father died. So I took my girlfriend to work and came back took her to work, came back, and then I got the phone call. And I was like, damn. And I just watched, you guys' video over and over. And then, I would get phone calls from family members and talk to them for a little while. And then I'd go back and watch your reaction video again. That's why when we were doing it, like I have that video, both videos, your reactions to Ghost Ships Part 1 and 2 pretty much memorized. And I was like kind of holding back when we were watching it, like, you were like, is that a snake on that guy? I'm like, oh, that was me. And, space cake, and, I have, all of your comments pretty much memorized. And
thank you. It means a lot knowing, we left such an impression, and my condolences as well, but thank you. That means a lot. And just as we all finishing, we need to shamelessly plug here, like, subscribe to
absolutely.
Nerdtube, the greatest
absolutely.
YouTube channel you never heard of. Please leave a link in the comments. Like,
we'll
this
do
is what we do. I'd love to see some of these people join us for some of our reviews as well.
For
and
sure.
Tyler's joined us in the past. Even Josh has joined us in the past for some of our reviews for some of the stuff we tend to do. So
and I'll give you another plug. The funniest comment that I've ever heard from you guys, and you guys have a lot. That's saying a lot because you guys have a lot of funny things to say. But the hardest that I have ever laughed at any of your guys' stuff was Star Trek Eagle Agents of something Part 3, when the blue guy with the horns, and I won't spoil it for our audience because I want them to go watch your stuff. But it's about I don't know the timestamp, so watch the whole thing. But whenever you see the blue guy with the horns, that's when Cheeto made one of the funniest comments I've ever heard. It's just I laughed my ass off. So I was driving when I watched it, and I almost pissed myself. And I'm like, oh, I gotta get home. I gotta get home.
I gotta go back and try to remember what that was. It probably has something to do with
My favorite is from Demons when they mention Mason and Zam is like, Tyler, you say it.
Who the fuck is Mason? We don't know these characters. Tell them fucking get back on the fucking bridge. Just I hate this. This is shit. This is shit. Fucking hate it.
I'm really offended by what I'm watching
fucking
right
infuriating
now.
right now. Just when you think it starts to get interesting, then it goes and fucks itself.
That sounds just like him.
Oh God, I've never really had someone impersonate me before, so I love it. Thank you.
glad you enjoyed it, mate.
Neither one of us is going to impersonate someone unless we actually like you. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Well, we impersonate plenty of people that we don't like, but
Okay, maybe I'm lying.
I impersonate my ex-wife all the time.
If we do the impersonation for you, we like you.
But I used to like her, so I guess
But your impersonation of her is so good. I mean, you kill it doing her, even though what was it she said? You make her sound like Russell Brand.
You're not allowed to do my accent anymore. You make me sound like Russell fucking Brand.
I gotta go, guys. I gotta grab my numbers.
All right,
so I gotta go.
All right, let's all go grab our numbers. Until next time, live long and prosper.
Good night.